Le replay?
Ah oui, enfin la diffusion.
C'est bon, on passe au
Retour au direct.
So back
avec
to
tous
the
nos
live
nos
with
excuses,
all
pardon,
with
pour ce
very
contretemps. On a
sincere
un petit problème
apologies
technique ici
for
au
this
studio. Alors, a priori,
difficulty. We had a
on
technical
un problème
problem
sur
here in
le
the
live
studio.
en
So
français,
we do
mais
have
pas
a
sur le live
problem
en
with the
anglais.
French
Donc, le
live version, but
disponible
not
en
the
anglais. Je vais
English
laisser
live
un
version.
message,
So we do
pour
have
les
the
sous- pour
English
avertir
live
tout le
available
monde.
for everybody.
Le replay en français sera
So the
disponible
French
un peu plus
replay
tard dans la
will be
journée. On va
available
quand
a
même
little
traiter
bit
les
later
questions
on
reçues,
during
puis
the
on va
day.
essayer
We will
d'avancer,
still
faire comme prévu,
try and
le détail de nos
proceed
résultats.
and
Christophe,
present the
je te
details
propose
of our
rapidement de
results. So I suggest that you very
introduction, et puis
quickly
après on passera aux aspects financiers.
give us the brief introduction again.
Espérons pas.
Never two without three, let's hope.
2023,
So 2023, 2024, as I was just saying, was a tremendous turning point with the approval of Uzedy, followed by its launch, which was a true success, and will bring $80 million of revenue anticipated for Uzedy, and that guidance was confirmed at the beginning of May. That is the end of the third clinical trial with the end of recruitment 9 months earlier than originally planned, and fourth, the launch of our US strategy with a great deal of success. So as expected, we are entering a new era with 2023-2024, where we've set down the foundations. The first signal was, of course, the execution just following closure of this tremendous deal with AbbVie at the beginning of April, a deal that has brought us 35 millions upfront with 1.9 billions of commercial milestone and double-digit royalties in net sales. So we've also received our first royalty, and we've been controlling our costs stringently, and we've improved our cash position post-closing, which now reaches almost 50 million euros, with the 35 million euros upfront. Our stocks on the stock exchange are doing very well, and also thanks to the support of first-rank American funds that have adopted a very significant position in the company since autumn, about 10% in capital, 40 million euros in value today.
Merci beaucoup Christophe.
Thank you very much, Christophe.
Stéphane,
I'm going to turn to you. So can you just give us the main take-home messages for this year? I think that the live has been activated in both languages now. Yes, of course, David. So regarding the financial year which ended 31st of March 2024, this is ended with a fairly significant reduction in our net loss because we've gone from 32 million to 25 million euros, which is looking good for our return to profitability, which we have the objective which we set for 2026-2027 at the latest. There are a number of factors that explain this reduction in losses. First of all, in terms of the turnover, it is slightly down on last year. We went from 9.9 million to 9 million, but the key point to remember is that within these 9 million euros, there is the milestone that we invoiced Teva for the FDA approval of the Uzedy, which was 3.6 million euros, and above all, the first royalties from the sales of Uzedy in the United States, which brought in 1.7 million euros, as well as 0.6 million euros of royalties from our CMB joint venture, which produces polymers for our partners. So if we look at the total sum out of the 9 million euros of turnover this year, 5.9 million euros, that's about two-thirds, are generating a 100% margin, and that is something which is entirely new in Medincell. And this will allow us to access profitability because this share of products with no associated costs is set to grow very strongly over the next years. Regarding the partnership signed with AbbVie, I would like to recall that this was signed in April 2024, so that was post-closing, and therefore there is no revenue recognized in the turnover at the end of 31st of March 24. Regarding operating expenses, these have fallen significantly by 4.8 million euros, that means 13%, and are now just under 33 million euros. The R&D expenditure accounts for the bulk of our operating expenses. It's quite logical at 64% of the total. We should note that it is external expenditure on subcontracting for the CDMOs and CROs that fell over the year. The financial result has also improved because the financial loss was reduced from 8 million euros to 4 million euros. As a reminder, last year we recorded an expense of 5 million euros following the renegotiation of the loan granted by the EIB, and which at that time had been doubled and went from 20 to 40
pour
million.
ces détails, Stéphane.
Thank you for these details,
Un petit peu de
Stéphane.
trésorerie?
So, can we talk cash flow? Well, yes, once again, the situation has improved significantly compared to last year, because in the bank, at the 31st of March 2024, we had 19.5 million euros in the bank, compared with 6.5 million euros the previous year. There are several reasons that explain this improvement. Firstly, as I just explained, with regard to our operating activities, cash flow requirements have been divided by 2. We went from 21 million euros last year to 11 million euros this year, which is very promising for the future. And as far as our financing is concerned, in May 2023, our capital increased by 23.2 million euros, and we received the final section of our 10 million euro loan from the EIB. So also we received the upfront payment in May 2023, and that was 32 million. If we accumulate the 19.5 and the 32.5, this gives us today's cash flow, which is very comfortable.
Le futur, justement,
no, talking about the future, Stéphane.
La trajectoire vers
on se dirige. Where are we heading? We were talking about future profitability. Yes. So we have a lot of financial milestones ahead of us, a lot of major milestones. First of all, there's the continuing rise of Uzedy in sales in the United States, which should result in the collection of increasingly substantial royalties in the years to come, around 10 million, tens of million euros a year. And this year we succeeded in 1.7 million for the launch this year, which is good, but I think we can do much better. Teva has announced a sales guidance for 2024 of around $80 million, and for we will not be reimbursed by all, given that they will not be reimbursed by all public and private healthcare systems until third quarter of 2024, and given the sales figures over the last few quarters, this seems quite conservative. Then we have olanzapine, and MDC TJK, the other treatment developed with Teva for more severe forms of schizophrenia. And here we're expecting milestone payments at the end of for the end of phase 3 study, and then for the possible marketing authorization, which could take place by the end of 2025. Teva has recently announced, or recently confirmed, that they were going to be applying at the beginning of 2025. And then, of course, there will be the first royalties and the potential commercial milestones associated with this. Then the deal with AbbVie. Can give a reminder of the main financial metrics. Within the scope of this contract, we have the possibility of co-developing and marketing up to 6 products in different therapeutic areas. For each of the 6 programs, we are likely to receive up to $315 million in the form of research and commercial milestones, followed by royalties, as Christophe mentioned. And of course,
nos équipes de business développement,
our business development and research teams are actively working on other partnerships and on all future programs that will enrich our pipeline over the years and generate additional revenues. So all of this makes us very confident in our ability to achieve an operating break-even at the latest in 2026-27, and this will be achieved once again largely to future revenues that will be generated and will not add any additional cost for the company. We will continue to invest heavily and multiply our new partnerships. And of course, we will keep innovation at the heart of our growth at all times, because this is necessary to stand out from our competitors and to succeed in convincing the world's major pharmaceutical groups, as we have just done with AbbVie. Thank you very much, Stéphane, for this summaries. So I suggest that we move, fly across the Atlantic, and we call Richard. Richard, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oui, nous t'entendons. Richard,
So Richard, the first event that Christophe talked about is, of course, the launch of Uzedy on the American market. Can you give us a quick reminder why Uzedy could be best in class, and also come back over the recent communication of Teva, which announced a switch between a product which is Uzedy, which is the leader on the market today, to Uzedy. Why this communication from Teva, and what do you see behind this communication and the presentation made recently?
So just a reminder, Uzedy, launched a year ago, is, in our opinion, truly a best-in-class amongst the long-acting injectable risperidones. It is subcutaneous, smaller needle, more comfortable for patients compared to the Janssen franchise, which is intramuscular, requiring a larger needle. It also comes ready to use in pre-filled syringes, 4 doses for the monthly, 4 doses every other monthly, for the Janssen portfolio requiring reconstitution in the office, which is not always desirable to treating psychiatrists. The important part of the formulation is that it reaches therapeutic levels right away. Within 24 hours, you're at a therapeutic blood level. This is different than the Janssen portfolio, which requires either oral supplementation or additional titrating injections. And this rapid attainment of therapeutic levels allows for an easier switch, not just between the oral risperidone, but also, as David mentioned, between the Janssen long-acting injectable monthly products, which Teva is now also beginning to target. And the posters they released a week ago at the Psych Congress Elevate meeting in Las Vegas, Nevada, gave clinicians a formula, a recipe, if you will, as to how to switch between a monthly long-acting injectable Invega product from Janssen to Uzedy either monthly or every other monthly. And because of the features of Uzedy, it makes it very easy to switch. You simply have to administer your first injection of monthly Uzedy 4 weeks after your last injection of the LAI Invega. So providing a method for clinicians to switch in an easy fashion. And it's for these and all other reasons that Uzedy is being seen as a true best-in-class, and why only 1 year on the market, it's doing quite well. David?
Merci Richard. Donc ça, c'était Uzedy, le deuxième programme.
Thank you, Richard. That was Uzedy. The second program that Christophe and Stéphane talked about is the program that we're leading with Teva. It's olanzapine, which is a very high potential product. So, Richard did a conference recently on the subject, but maybe we can come back over this. We've had some interesting, very good results regarding the efficacy, but also safety with the PDSS syndrome. So for people who are not necessarily familiar with the notion of PDSS, could you maybe explain the stakes of PDSS and also comment these efficacy results, which would seem very positive?
Happy to do so. So Unlike risperidone, there's only one approved long-acting injectable olanzapine product from Lilly, and its use is limited because of safety concerns, predominantly the risk of post-injection delirium and sedation syndrome, which I'll abbreviate as PDSS. And that's limited its use in that there are excessive monitoring requirements from the FDA, a black box warning in the label, and a need to monitor every patient for every injection for 3 hours. So this has very significantly limited its use. Now, our formulation was designed to mitigate or eliminate that risk of PDSS, but before a drug can be approved, it needs to also achieve certain efficacy milestones and significance. And we were excited to present data that Teva disclosed 1 month ago, in which they met their primary endpoint in the phase 3 study of a improvement in positive and negative symptom scale, which is the main efficacy outcome, between all 3 doses of olanzapine versus placebo, as well as meeting key secondary endpoints. So that allows for approvability. That's good. But if that's the primary endpoint, the primary objective of the study was safety and limiting or eliminating the risk of PDSS. And Teva also announced a month ago that there was 0 cases of PDSS after achieving almost 3,000 injections out of the targeted 3,600 identified by the FDA. And so that is very encouraging for us. Teva will announce the rest of the safety data and risk of PDSS in the second half of 2024, and then are planning to file their NDA early in 2025. David?
Merci Richard.
Thank you, Richard. I turn back to you, Christophe. We were talking about what happened last year and what's happened recently in terms of results. Maybe we can look to the future. First of all, the close future. What are we expecting in coming months, Christophe? Well, thank you, David. Well, of course, the rising power of Uzedy and the confirmation of the figures quarter by quarter. We can think that we are sure that Teva will communicate on that regularly. Secondly, this famous MDC-TJK, which is crucially important for us and for Teva also. Just last week, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal that explained how this innovation has revived Teva, which at the beginning of May increased its presence on the stock option by 15%, meaning $3 billion. And the Wall Street Journal explained that it was thanks to this long-term injectable. So we expect to achieve 3,600 injections. So this will be in the coming weeks or months. We are expecting the end of the safety clinical phase 3 trial and the efficacy and safety trial that Richard is making. And that should be in the second part of the year. We are finally, as Teva said, expecting them to put in file for the FDA at the beginning of 2025. So that's a lot of news coming in. And let us remember that when you file the beginning of 2025 for FDA approval, that means a potential approval in the second half of 2025. So in a little over 1 year, this product could be approved by the FDA with its potential. It will necessarily have an impact on our accounts as from 2026. We will also be defining the future steps on MDC-CWM, and we hope potentially other agreements.
Voilà, donc ça c'est pour les mois qui viennent. Mais si on essaie
so those are for coming months, but let's look a little bit further ahead, Christophe. A little bit further ahead. Well, Uzedy will continue to be increasingly successful at the beginning of 2026. We'll be joined by olanzapine. The second point we must execute this famous deal with AbbVie so that the first product makes headway, but it's up to us to accelerate the choice and the initiation of the following products. We haven't talked about this too much, but in recent years there's been a new wave of new products that are in phase 2 and phase 3 for schizophrenia that treats the central nervous system, whereas there has been no progress made in this field in 25 years. And that's a good star of Medincell, which means that it's synchronized with the approval of Uzedy. And as an illustration, you can see on the slide on the screen that there were 2 spectacular acquisitions of companies that develop products for schizophrenia. The first was by AbbVie for $8.7 billion, and the second is Carava by BMS for $14 billion. And both have stated in their initial communication on these acquisitions in December that they wish to create long-acting injectables. And they're not the only ones, because behind them there are more than half a dozen companies who are also making progress on products in this sector. And it's quite obvious that in Medincell we would like to work with as many of them as possible. Beyond the CNS, the central nervous system, we must make progress to move towards new therapeutic indications, but also work on new types of molecules. Our ambition is to allow our technology to evolve and to work with molecules that we are not very good at working with today. And so we will be working through with a mix of internal and external innovation. And of course, one of our strategic targets is these famous GLP-1s, these famous anti-obesity moleccules that we hope we will have our word to say on as well. Final point, we must continue to execute our US strategy, which has been a roaring success since last summer, thanks to the recruitment of Greskim in August. I was in New York last week to introduce the company to new American investors, and we must continue in this line. They are absolutely key to the future success of the company.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. With no further delay, I suggest we move on to the questions, because we have received a lot of questions. We are running late, but we will try to answer as many questions as possible. I will immediately answer to the first 2 questions related to recent news, and that was last week's conference and today's conference. We were asked why Jefferies was not accessible to stakeholders, and so this was a technical decision with the bank that was hosting us at the time. Only the participants in the conference were able to be there.
Évidemment, je vous rassure.
We will be able to put
on va pouvoir, Christophe, c'est pour moi.
Also the
voilà, ça,
improvement of these locations. Yeah.
Juste, je rassure tout le monde, évidemment, il n'y a pas eu de...
I would like to reassure everybody there is no news that was new news. Apart from what was announced in New York last week. So,
relativement vite. Et j'ai envie de dire même que de manière générale, Christophe,
people saying, well, Christophe, this what's happening corresponds to the ambition of our company, and in our sector, time is precious. And what we've asked the finance team to do, maybe a comment? Yes, we have an initiative in-house which we call FAST, which is to develop programs faster, and this affects all different functions of the company, and it's very important in this acceleration phase. And Stefan was a volunteer, not only for this financial account session, but for the following one. Yes, because of course, while the teams are working on the accounts, they're not doing anything else. And this is the most important parameter in our businesses, because you can't make up for lost time. And so this initiative must also be crowned with a success. So we're going to come back to the topic that we're here to talk about today. And that is the financial results. With a question, Stefan, we're told that the operational results are 32 million euros, the operational expenditure up until 2023-2024. Can you fill us in a bit about the current financial year? Are we looking about the same scale of expenditure? And then the same question will, of course, be raised for the revenues. Well, you know that we don't communicate on forecasts of future financial years. But in terms of revenues, we've already given quite a few comments as to the next financial milestones. And then, in terms of expenditure, well, all of this is related to the development of products and future pipelines. And you have a few indications on possible evolutions of expenditure for coming years. We're being asked how we expect to use the cash received when we signed the AbbVie contract, and above all, are we going to do an early refund of the EIB loan or to set up the possibility to buy shares? Well, our cash flow is comfortable. I think that it would be a little bit premature to immediately refund the EIB. So there are a certain number of stages that remain to be reached and some residual risk that must be raised. So we will be cautious in our approach, and we will first of all, and above all, as I already said, continue to invest in our research program to develop other product pipelines that will be developed either in-house or with new pharmaceutic partners. But all of our energy is focused on this development of the product portfolio. Stefan, a little bit over 6 months ago when we were presenting the half-yearly results, we had an idea of cash flow in the first semester of 2025, and we're being asked now how have we adjusted this cash flow forecast. And now that we've signed the deal with AbbVie and we've cashed in $25 million. Well, yes, I confirm we would have been in the same situation if we hadn't signed the AbbVie deal. We had visibility for the first half of the year of 2025 before the signing of the AbbVie contract. Now, with the AbbVie deal, and among other, the upfront payment that we've already cashed in, I think that we can reasonably look ahead to the second semester of 2027 in terms of cash flow. And by then, we have time to work on and sign new partnerships and further extend this cash flow horizon.
Merci. Richard.
Thank you. Richard, we have a question here about the preclinical phases of WWM, which is contraception of STM in malaria.
Un peu de retard, effectivement, sur ces
so we're running a bit late in those programs, and we're being asked why we're running late, and should we expect the same type of delay on future programs, including the programs we're developing with AbbVie? Somewhat provocative question for you there, Richard.
No. Thank you for that, David, and the questioner. So, yes, we are behind our timelines for both STM and WWM. As you might know, in early drug development, often issues arise, need to be solved, and that can cause a small delay. We are moving forward and anticipate having patients receive their first dose of both WWM, which is a 6-month subcutaneous contraceptive, and STM, which is a treatment to treat malaria in developing world, within the next 12 months. And then I would also add that delays in one program should not impact timelines in other programs. So we don't anticipate that this would have any impact on moving forward with our portfolio of products with AbbVie.
Merci beaucoup, Richard.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Question suivante, un peu technique.
Following question. It's a little bit technical. I'm not sure if we'll be able to answer this now, but I will ask you this question, Stefan. We're asked if there's a lag in certain invoicing of royalties.
Ou Q1 2024, d'accord. À la fin des semestres, en fait.
At the end of the semesters, due
de Medicare vers Teva.
To the fact that Teva is waiting for reimbursements from Medicare. Does this have an impact? No, I don't think that we have this information at hand. No.
Désolé.
Sorry.
Alors, je prends la prochaine question.
Next question. The efficacy of R&D investments on products brought to the market, and also the enrichment of pipeline in terms of potential products. What evaluation can we make today of the ratio between the cost invested and the payback? So maybe you can comment the dynamics of this portfolio and... yes, of course. As Richard was just saying, for the programs underway, often we just need one winner to justify investments. And here, for example, the first product that we're making with Uzedy, and the fact of having signed this extraordinary deal justifies the expenditure. So today we're continuing to make progress, and with our growing experience within the company, we've established a means of increasing our success. We are better selecting the products than before. And above all, the deadlines must be reasonable. So sometimes this is too long, and therefore the products are not strategically interesting, and hence this initiative on accelerating and optimizing time that we have now. But these are internal figures that we are watching carefully to justify this strategy. Thank you very much. We're being asked a question about CMO material. That's the joint venture we have with Corbion for the manufacture of polymers. Can we have some details on the way in which the royalties are cashed in from CMO materials?
Donc, on a des facturations et des enquêtes.
Well, we have invoices and cash coming in from the company quite regularly throughout the year.
On a encaissé sur l'exercice passé.
In the past financial year, we've cashed 600,000 euros from CMB. It's a little bit less than last year, but there are questions of phasing that intervene there, depending on purchases of the other polymers by different partners. So basically, Teva last year was in its launch phase with Uzedy, and maybe there were more products, and therefore there's a slight degrowth over the financial year, but CMB should also allow us to generate significant revenues thanks to the royalties brought in by the growing success of each product. We're also asked on the percentage of Uzedy royalties and Teva products. Will these grow with the increased sales? Well, yes, you noted that in the communication we say that royalties signed with the TA contract have gone from a single figure to a higher figure, and it's gradated, and this corresponds to the rising amount of royalties and product sales. But we cannot declare any accurate figures for this level of royalties. This is confidential information, yes. Stefan, we're asked in which financial years, in the plural,
la recette Uzedy de 35
the Uzedy income of 35 million will figure. Very good question. And we're actively working on this currently with our financial auditors. And as you can imagine, this Uzedy contract is extremely complex. It is about 100 pages long, if I remember. There are a lot of different subtleties. So we are analyzing this carefully, so that it meets the IRFS standards, the fiscal standards. But not all of the $35 million upfront payment will be counted for in the current financial year. A good share will be put on 2024 and 2025, but there will be another part that will be spread out over the duration of the 5 other programs.
Mais par contre, on confirme que les 35 millions ont bien été encaissés.
But we can confirm that 35 million have been cashed in. Yes, they're on our bank account.
Merci. Si je reste sur le programme ABVI,
So if we stick to the ABVI program, Christophe, a question for you. I know you won't be able to answer, but people are asking us what programs we're developing with ABVI and what timelines we have and when the next programs will appear in our portfolio and when will the first one that is currently in formulation move on to preclinical studies. I will let you answer that we can't answer. Well, I can give you a few elements that explain our products and how we work. So as a reminder, we have a first product that is being formulated with AbbVie. If I remember correctly, a formulation stage takes between 18 and 24 months. So that gives you an idea of when we can move on to preclinical trials to know whether at the beginning or the end of that phase, which we don't know, but which I know, but which I cannot tell you.
Deuxième étape,
Second step,
évidemment, il y a d'autres choses
of course, there are
discussion,
other things that are
avec AbbVie,
under discussion with AbbVie,
vont
and these discussions will
notre intérêt, celle de démarrer les
continue,
le plus tôt possible.
and it's up.
Mais là, de
We're,
nouveau, je n'ai pas
of course, it's
d'informations à partager, c'est des
in our interest to start the new programs as early as possible, but this is very confidential and strategic information which I cannot share with you. Thank you, Stéphane. Can you? We're being asked to remind everybody when we must refund the EIB loan, and will we be able to do that when it becomes due? Well, yes, as you know, we received the EIB loan in 3 parts, each with a 5-year maturity. So the first section of 20 million euros must be reimbursed in December 2027, and the 2 following parts during 2028.
Donc effectivement, ça nous laisse un petit
So that does give us a bit of time.
Effectivement, pour ça que
And this is why
l'horizon de cash, pour l'instant, j'ai
I've
le deuxième
been
semestre 2024.
asked for the cash horizon, and for the time being, I said second semester of 2027, because we must refund the 20 million at the end of the year. And once again,
Cet horizon de cash est toujours conditionnel.
this cash horizon is
On
continues to be conditioned
donc,
by the fact that if there is nothing by then,
pour qu'il y ait davantage de
we must work very hard so that we have more deals and upfront payments that come in before the end of 2027,
phase de remboursement.
which is when the EIB loan will be mature.
On a démarré et on
Maybe we can also explain, Stéphane, we were in Luxembourg 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we have started negotiations that aim to delay these payments so that they are synchronized with the potential Uzedy and olanzapine milestones. So as Christophe says, I can confirm that we are thinking hard in this direction.
Merci beaucoup. Il nous reste une dernière
Thank you very much. We have a final question,
assez bien aujourd'hui. On nous demande
which is quite good today. We're being asked whether we
communication financière trimestrielle.
We think that we will step up our financial communication to a quarterly pace with the increase of sales in Uzedy. Well, what is for sure is that we will come back to you on this specific subject, but maybe we might be giving you quarterly figures for Uzedy sales, so we don't know, but we will adapt. Our objective is to be present, as always, to be present and answer the questions of our stakeholders insofar as possible, when we have no technical hitches, and as soon as it's necessary.
Exactement.
So we will be obliged to do it, of course, when for the company, if we are on the American Stock Exchange. Christophe, I will let you close the meeting. Yes, thank you all for being here. We apologize sincerely for our technical issues, which will not happen again. I have the studio manager here, and I can guarantee that this will never happen again. In any case, thank you for your support to Medincell and for joining us in this amazing story. This story is picking up pace, as we explained, 2023, 2024. I said we're supposed to be a spectacular year. Things have got off the ground very well, and we hope that many more good things are due for the rest of the year. And so we will see you again in December, or maybe before if necessary. So I would like to come back over the technical hitches here. We will be getting a clean copy in French and in English of this meeting, and it will be available today later in the day, we will let you know on the social media. So thank you for being with us and for asking us all of your questions. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Richard.